and welcome to today's episode of Indeavor Talks. My name is April Samaski, and I am the Customer Success Manager here at Indeavor. Today, I'll be interviewing the president of a global clinical supplies company, Bob Albanese, who will help us understand the impacts of last-minute absenteeism in the manufacturing space. Bob, welcome to our show. We're excited to have you.
Excited to be on.
Thank
Hope I can
you.
be helpful.
Absolutely. So I'm going to start out by asking you a series of questions surrounding last-minute absenteeism in the manufacturing space, and I really just want to hear your true feedback on how you handle these situations. So my first question is just maybe give us a little bit of background on the processes for the way you currently handle employee call-offs.
Sure. So I'd like to give you a little background on what we do in clinical supplies. It's not well known. This is the packaging and labeling and distribution of drugs in clinical trials. It's very niche, very specialized, and very one-off. There's not many times that you do the same thing twice. It's very rare. So because of that, the employees not only have SOP training, they have work instruction training. So not every employee would have the same set of instructions. So an employee calling off and just before they have work to do could be very disruptive to us.
All right. So it sounds like you have some pretty strict qualification management you need to deal with and making sure those right people are in the right place. So tell me, with the maybe lack of processes you have for handling call-offs today, how effective is that to your business, or what's the impact there?
Sure. So the impact is great. One, we're providing life-saving medications to patients around the world. So not being able to package, label, and distribute on time could be, detrimental to patients. And on the financial side, work that we don't get done never gets caught back up. We're just not doing some other work at that time. So there's a couple of different reasons why not getting the work done matters.
Yeah, that absolutely sounds like you guys run a very scheduled routine and things have to get done at the right time, otherwise there's detrimental impacts. So what would be the most common reason an employee calls off, or why are you seeing such an influx in that type of behavior?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I don't think there's one reason. So we do have a large contingent of hands-on staff, younger people. So young mothers, young fathers, so child problems. Now, we're a family-oriented company, so we understand these things happen. But a lot of times the parents don't know they're going to have a problem. It could be daycare closed, the kid woke up with a fever, they're not allowed to go to school, any multitude of things. As you know, we went through COVID a few years ago, where although we needed to keep working in this industry to provide the medication to people, the parameters were much stricter. If you felt like you might not be up to 100%, don't come to work.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a judgment call. And people had to make that at the last minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely know the hardship of being a new mom and having to schedule around daycare. That can definitely be tough. So with that, do you think having a tool that would give your employee the autonomy to manage their own schedule and handle their own absenteeism be a benefit to your organization?
I think it would. One of the bigger things would be the earlier we can find out, the better. In our current model, our employees, if they don't know the day before, and if they did know, it wouldn't be a surprise. But when they do know, they have to wait until we open at 7 to make that call. We want to start working at 7:30, so that doesn't leave management a lot of time to react to that.
Yeah.
But, to have a system where they could let us know as soon as possible could absolutely be helpful.
Yeah, so it sounds like without the system, you're actually putting yourself in a position to have more last minute call offs than what you would possibly intend to have with a system if they were able to utilize it in advance. So they're almost forced into having to call day of because they have to have access to the people, right? Mm-hmm. So that's good to know. And then with that, you had mentioned earlier in a review about the impact to, things have to get done. If it doesn't, it's just pushing something else out. So it sounds like there could be a really big impact to your revenue model, due to the tight scheduling criteria that the pharmaceutical companies have. So can you kind of expand the impact of that with last minute absenteeism?
So if we have a employee that calls out last minute and they have specific job specific training and no one else has it, we're going to pull someone off of another task. And once we do that, we cause that task to be short.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of whack-a-mole where it goes throughout the industry, throughout the environment. if we had a better system to understand who was trained in what, and to make one big move instead of many moves and find out later in the day that we disrupted something else. That really, most of our call outs end up causing us 2 or 3 shuffles throughout the day. So it's not one late packaging, it could be 2 or 3.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I've actually seen that with not pharmaceutical, but more of my CPG clients where they also do the shuffle, right? Like they have to make sure this person gets rotated there based on qualifications, and the manual manipulation of doing that in your head as a supervisor can actually lead to errors. Have you seen that before?
Yes, and in a system, in an industry where we have to document all of our errors, it even leads to more work and more time because of the documentation of the errors and reporting back through the industry best practices, how we're going to alleviate those errors from happening again next time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess that kind of leads us into my next thought is you mentioned a little bit, but kind of can you go into more detail about how centralized in call off service would benefit your scheduling processes and how it could really help your business?
Sure. So I would assume if there's a centralized call off, it's tied to our schedule
Yeah.
or to our scheduling software and then to our qualification software and to have the systems be able to use its own algorithms to go through and give us suggestions for first thing in the morning when we come in. Hey, 3 people called off or 1 person called off. Here's what we suggest you do. It would save a lot of management time and would get us back on the shop floor quicker, which is what we need to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the real problem that we're trying to solve here at Endeavor. So we've noticed that we have our clients on these separate systems that don't talk to each other. They're not saying what needs to happen next. And so where Endeavor closes the gap is we provide that call off service for our customers. And then as the supervisors and managers come in for the day, they're now able to, at the tips of their fingers, make that decision by a click of a button, really, because the algorithms that you speak of, the way we schedule, it already has your work rules in place, right? So it's already making those shuffles, and it's probably going to take the least amount of shuffling to get it done, right? Where you took 3 people to shuffle into the backfilling job. Our generation is going to maybe only have to take 1 person and backfill, and it may take it from the least impactful job, right? So that's I think super relevant to how Endeavor works, and that is really good feedback. So I appreciate that. And then I guess my last thought and want to tie up the interview with maybe explaining how real-time reporting and analysis of unscheduled absences ties to your operations and how do you expect a call-off service to deliver on this?
Sure. So as we can measure and have metrics on what the call off's impact was, not only prior to the system, but post implementation of a system, we can really get a return on our investment.
Yeah.
We can see that not only in a monetary fact, but as I said, we need to service our patients. So we really want to understand what impact we're causing downstream to others. We're not the final consumer of our product.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's amazing. I appreciate all the time today, and I do have to ask, it's my job. Do you think Endeavor Call would be a good fit for you and your company?
I think it's worth further research.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for the insight on unplanned absences. At the very least, I learned a lot about clinical supplies today. So
Thank you.
Thanks for coming today, Bob.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Bye.